Welcome to Jersey Reads the Classics, an audiobook podcast delving into the finest works of our literary masters. Unfortunately, it's read by this woman.
What the hell? Who cares? Let's go on an adventure.
Hello, and welcome back to Jersey Reads the Classics with me, your host, Rosie D. Candia. So, let's dive deep into the book that we're reading, Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. Let's proceed to Chapter 6. Chapter 6, The Little House. Foolish Tootles was standing like a conqueror over Wendy's body when the other boys sprang, armed from their trees. "You are too late," he cried proudly. "I have shot the Wendy. Peter will be so pleased with me." Overheard, Tinkerbell shouted, "Silly ass," and darted into hiding. She's got a thing about cursing, this girl. She must be from New Jersey. You know what I'm talking about? The others did not hear her. They had crowded round Wendy, and as they looked, a terrible silence fell upon the wood. If Wendy's heart had been beating, they would have all heard it. Slightly was the first to speak. "This is no bird," he said in a scared voice. "I think this must be a lady." "A lady?" said Tootles, and fell a-trembling. "And we have killed her," Nib said hoarsely. They all whipped off their caps. "Now I see," Curly said. "Peter was bringing her to us. He threw himself sorrowfully on the ground." "A lady to take care of us at last," said one of the twins, "and you have killed her." They were sorry for him, but sorrier for themselves, and when he took a step nearer them, they turned from him. How quickly! It's like et tu, Brute. One moment you were excited that he killed her and everything, and now suddenly it's like, screw you, Toots, you're on your own. Nice, boys, nice. They're not a band that sticks together, huh? What I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Where's the loyalty? Where's the loyalty? Tootles' face was very white, but there was a dignity about him now that had never been there before. "I did it," he said, reflecting. "When ladies used to come to me in dreams, I said, 'Pretty mother, pretty mother.' But when at last she really came, I shot her." Oh God, I feel like this is like a Shakespearean soliloquy. It's like a Hamlet moment. Oi. He moved away slowly. "Don't go," they called in pity. "I must," he answered, shaking. "I am so afraid of Peter." It was at this tragic moment that they heard a sound which made the heart of every one of them rise to his mouth. They heard Peter crow. "Peter!" they cried, for it was always thus that he signaled his return. "Hide her," they whispered, and gathered hastily around Wendy. But Tootles stood aloof. Again came that ringing crow, and Peter dropped in front of them. "Greetings, boys," he cried, and mechanically they saluted, and then again was silence. He frowned. "I am back," he said hotly. "Why do you not cheer?" They opened their mouths, but the cheers would not come. He overlooked it in his haste to tell the glorious tidings. "Great news, boys," he cried. "I have brought at last a mother for you all." Still no sound, except a little thud from Tootles as he dropped on his knees. "Have you not seen her?" asked Peter, becoming troubled. "She flew this way." "Ah me," one voice said, and another said, "Oh, mournful day." Tootles rose. "Peter," he said quietly, "I will show her to you." And when the others would still have hidden her, he said, "Back, twins, let Peter see." Boy, this is a very dramatic story, and I'm being very dramatical, but I must say, the boys are at least helping Tootles and protecting Tootles, so they're back on my good side. They're not so disloyal. So they all stood back and let him see, and after he had looked for a little time, he did not know what to do next. "She is dead," he said uncomfortably. Perhaps she is frightened at being dead. He thought of hopping off in a comic sort of way till he was out of sight of her, and then never going near the spot any more. They would all have been glad to follow if he had done this. But there was the arrow. He took it from her heart and faced his band. "Whose arrow?" he demanded sternly. "Mine, Peter," said Tootles on his knees. "Oh, dastard hands," Peter said, and he raised the arrow to use it as a dagger. Tootles did not flinch. He bared his breast. "Strike, Peter," he said firmly. "Strike true." "Wow, Tootles, look at this kid. This kid has got some balls, man. He's like, I did it, and I'll take the blame and I'll take responsibility. Don't we wish most people did that, or more people did that in our daily lives, and not even for killing somebody? Jeez. Okay. Twice did Peter raise the arrow, and twice did his hand fall. I cannot strike, he said with awe. There is something stays my hands. All looked at him in wonder, save Nibs, who fortunately looked at Wendy. It is she, he cried, the Wendy lady. See her arm? Wonderful to relate. Wendy had raised her arm. Nibs bent over her and listened reverently. I think she said, poor Tootles, he whispered. She lives, Peter said briefly. Slightly cried instantly, the Wendy lady lives. Then Peter knelt beside her and found his button. You remember, she had put it on a chain that she wore around her neck. Yeah, remember? He gave her the acorn, and they said later on it was going to save her life. Well, it saved her life. So she had the acorn button. Is that like, you know what's funny is he gave that to her like a sign of whatever friendship. And look at, his friendship saved her. Oh, the wonders never cease. I love it. See, he said, the arrow struck against this. It is the kiss I gave her. It saved her life. Kisses do save your life sometimes. I remember kisses, slightly interposed quickly. Let me see it. Aye, that's a kiss. Peter did not hear him. He was begging Wendy to get better quickly so that he could show her the mermaids. Of course, she could not answer yet, being still in a frightful faint. But from overhead came a wailing note. Listen to Tink, said Curly. She is crying because the Wendy lives. Then they had to tell Peter of Tink's crime, and almost never had they seen him look so stern. Oh, shit's gonna hit the fan for Tink. Oh, Tink, you gonna get now, girl. You gotta pay the piper. You gotta pay the Peter Pan piper. Listen, Tinkerbell, he cried. I am your friend no more. Be gone from me forever. She flew onto his shoulder and pleaded, but he brushed her off. Not until Wendy again raised her arm did he relent sufficiently to say, well, not forever, but for a whole week. Well, we're going to talk about this after in the woo-woo, but look at Wendy here. This girl has character. She could have been like, screw you, Tinkerbell, you gone. But look at what she did. She intervened, went for Tinkerbell and for Tootles. What does that say about Wendy? We can learn a lot from children. You know what I'm saying? Do you think Tinkerbell was grateful to Wendy for raising her arm? Oh dear, no. Never wanted to pinch her so much. She's a pissy little bitch. Fairies indeed are strange, and Peter, who understood them best, often cuffed them. But what to do with Wendy in her present delicate state of health? Let us carry her down into the house, Curly suggested. I said slightly, that is what one does with ladies. No, no, Peter said, you must not touch her. It would not be sufficiently respectful. That, said Slightly, is what I was thinking too. Yeah, I mean, Slightly is like all over the place. He obviously just goes with the flow and says what he thinks that everybody else is thinking. But look at them. They are respecting Wendy, and I like that Peter knows that they got to do something with her in her delicate condition. So these kids aren't as stupid as we think they are, huh? But if she lies here, Tootles said, she will die. Aye, she will die, Slightly admitted. But there is no way out. Yes, there is, cried Peter. Let us build a little house round her. They were all delighted. Quick, he ordered them. Bring me each of you the best of what we have. Gut your house, be sharp. In a moment, they were as busy as tailors the night before a wedding. They scurried this way and that, down for bedding, up for firewood, and while they were at it, who should appear but John and Michael? Oh, look who comes in now after all of this to do, which is probably best anyway. But the point is this, it took them that long to come in. They were still flying by themselves without Peter. I'm confused about that. They were younger. As they dragged along the ground, they fell asleep standing, stopped, woke up, moved another step, and slept again. John, John, Michael would cry. Wake up. Where is Nana, John, and Mother? And then John would rub his eyes and mutter, it is true, we did fly. You may be sure they were very relieved to find Peter. Hello, Peter, they said. Hello, replied Peter amicably, though he had quite forgotten them. Remember, we found out that Peter has like short-term memory loss. He doesn't remember people. I mean, his attention deficit, he's got ADD definitely. He can't even remember people after like a few minutes or whatever, half hour when he's flying around. So he don't even remember who John and Michael are. Oh, funny that. He was very busy at the moment measuring Wendy with his feet to see how large a house she would need. Of course, he meant to leave room for chairs and a table. Smart. And John and Michael watched him. "Is Wendy asleep?" they asked. "Yes." John Michael proposed. "Let us wake her and get her to make supper for us. Do you believe this little bitch? She's sleeping and they're gonna wake her ass to make supper." Well, these two, they were a little ingrate. I know he's a kid like a small toddler, but dude, mind your manners. Jeez, ask Peter for food. But as he said it, some of the other boys rushed on carrying branches for the building of the house. "Look at them," he cried. "Curly," said Peter in his most captainy voice, "see that these boys help in the building of the house." "Aye, aye, sir." "Build a house?" exclaimed John. "For the Wendy," said Curly. "For Wendy?" John said aghast. "Why, she is only a girl." "That," explained Curly, "is why we are her servants." "You? Wendy's servants?" "Yes," said Peter, "and you also. Away with them." The astounded brothers were dragged away to hack and hew and carry. "Chairs and a fender first," Peter ordered. "Then we shall build a house round them." "Aye," said Slightly, "that is how a house is built. It all comes back to me." Peter thought of everything. "Slightly," he cried, "fetch a doctor." "Aye, aye," said Slightly at once, and disappeared, scratching his head. But he knew Peter must be obeyed, and he returned in a moment, wearing John's hat and looking solemn. "Please, sir," said Peter, going to him, "are you a doctor?" The difference between him and the other boys at this time was that they knew it was make-believe, while to him make-believe and true were exactly the same thing. This sometimes troubled them, as when they had to make believe they had had their dinners. If they broke down in their make-believe, he rapped them on their knuckles. "Yes, my little man," Slightly anxiously replied, who had chapped knuckles. Okay, so everything's make-believe, and we know in children's heads and lives, they make everything truth. But how funny is this, that the kid put on John's top hat and is going along with this, but they said he's got chapped knuckles, which means he's not very good at pretending to stay in make-believe. God, all the little nuances in this. I don't know if kids realize that, but we are. "Please, sir," Peter explained, "a lady lies very ill." She was lying at their feet, but Slightly had the sense not to see her. "Tut, tut, tut," he said. "Where does she lie?" "In yonder glade." "I will put a glass thing in her mouth," said Slightly, and he made believe to do it while Peter waited. It was an anxious moment when the glass thing was withdrawn. "How is she?" inquired Peter. "Tut, tut, tut," said Slightly. "This has cured her." "I am glad," Peter cried. "I will call again in the evening," Slightly said. "Give her beef tea out of a cup with a spout to it." But after he had returned the hat to John, he blew big breaths, which was his habit on escaping from a difficulty. Well, at least he knows to give her like a beef tea or something like that. So he ain't that stupid. Not bad. I don't know what the glass thing was, but I know it was make-believe. In the meantime, the wood had been alive with the sound of axes. Almost everything needed for a cozy dwelling already lay at Wendy's feet. "If only we knew," said one, "the kind of house she likes best." "Peter," shouted another, "she is moving in her sleep." "Her mouth opens," cried a third, looking respectfully into it. "Oh, lovely. Maybe that one's going to be a dentist." "Perhaps she is going to sing in her sleep," said Peter. "Wendy, sing the kind of house you would like to have." Immediately, without opening her eyes, Wendy began to sing. "I wish I had a pretty house, the littlest ever seen, with funny little red walls and roof of mossy green." They gurgled with joy at this, for by the greatest good luck, the branches they had brought were sticky with red sap, and all the ground was carpeted with moss. As they rattled up the little house, they broke into song themselves. "We've built the little walls and roof, and made a lovely door. So tell us, Mother Wendy, what are you waiting for?" To this, she answered greedily, "Oh, really, next I think I'll have gay windows all about, with roses peeping in, and babies peeping out." With a blow of their fists, they made windows and large yellow leaves with the blinds. "But roses?" "Roses," cried Peter sternly. Quickly, they made believe to grow the loveliest roses up the walls. "Babies?" To prevent Peter ordering babies, they hurried into this song again. "We've made the roses peeping out, the babes are at the door. We cannot make ourselves, 'cause we've been made before." Peter, seeing this to be a good idea, at once pretended that it was his own. Of course he did. I mean, Peter does have some good ideas, but this guy is such a narcissist and so cunning and manipulative. It all revolves around Peter. I guess that's why the book is his title, but still, really, Peter, enough of you. Ugh. The house was quite beautiful, and no doubt Wendy was very cozy within, though, of course, they could no longer see her. Peter strode up and down, ordering finishing touches. Nothing escaped his eagle eyes, just when it seemed absolutely finished. "There's no knocker on the door," he said. They were very ashamed, but Tootles gave the sole of his shoe, and it made an excellent knocker. That's funny, gave the sole of his shoe. Now, Tootles has been feeling badly the whole time. He's been such a nice guy, a mensch, you know, in Yiddish. They say he's a mensch, and he gave the sole of his shoe. I think of S-O-U-L. Isn't that funny? Maybe his soul, in a nice way. That's all I'm going to say. That's me going real deep. Absolutely finished now, they thought. Not a bit of it. "There's no chimney," Peter said. "We must have a chimney." "It certainly does need a chimney," said John importantly. This gave Peter an idea. He snatched the hat off John's head, knocked out the bottom, and put the hat on the roof. The little house was so pleased to have such a capital chimney that, as if to say thank you, smoke immediately began to come out of the hat. Now, really and truly, it was finished. Nothing remained to do but to knock. "All look your best," Peter warned them. "First impressions are awfully important." He was glad no one asked him what first impressions are. They were all too busy looking their best. He knocked politely, and now the wood was as still as the children. Not a sound to be heard except from Tinkerbell, who was watching from a branch and openly snoring. What the boys were wondering was, would anyone answer the knock? If a lady, what would she be like? The door opened, and a lady came out. It was Wendy. They all whipped off their hats. They do have manners. I mean, I have to say it. For little boys that don't have mothers, they have manners. They're building houses. They're very resourceful, even if it is make-believe. But because of their make-believe, their thoughts have become things. And there really is a house. Go figure, okay? Go figure. You see what I'm saying there? She looked properly surprised, and this was just how they hoped she would look. "Where am I?" she said. Of course, Slightly was the first to get his word in. "Wendy, lady," he said rapidly, "for you we built this house." "Oh, say you please," cried Nibs. "Lovely, darling house," Wendy said, and they were the very words they had hoped she would say. Isn't that funny? It's a darling house. I mean, it's a lowercase d, but Darling, their last name is Darling, okay? And it is a house, so it's Wendy Darling's house, and it's a darling house. Do you see the play on words? Do you see the play on words? Okay, that's all I'm saying. "And we are your children," cried the twins. Then all went on their knees and holding out their arms cried, "Oh, Wendy, lady, be our mother." "Ought I?" Wendy said, all shining. "Of course, it's frightfully fascinating, but you see, I am only a little girl. I have no real experience." "Neither do mothers. They just learn as they go." "That doesn't matter," said Peter, as if he were the only person present who knew all about it, though he was really the one who knew the least. "What we need is just a nice motherly person." It's actually good advice. He doesn't need to know that. He's right, a motherly person. And a mother knows. A mother just becomes a mother. As soon as she has a baby, she knows, okay? "Oh dear," Wendy said. "You see, I feel that is exactly what I am." It is, they all cried. "We saw it at once." "Very well," she said. "I will do my best. Come inside at once, you naughty children. I am sure your feet are damp, and before I put you to bed, I have just time to finish the story of Cinderella." In they went. I don't know how there was room for them, but you can squeeze very tight in the Neverland. And that was the first of many joyous evenings they had with Wendy. Joyous evenings? How long are these kids gone for? We don't even know how long they were flying for, but now they're saying joyous evenings. Oh my God. By and by, she tucked them up in the great bed in the home under the trees, but she kept herself slept that night in the little house. And Peter kept watch outside with drawn sword, for the pirates could be heard carousing far away, and the wolves were on the prowl. The little house looked so cozy and safe in the darkness, with a bright light showing through its blinds, and the chimney smoking beautifully, and Peter standing on guard. After a time, he fell asleep, and some unsteady fairies had to climb over him on their way home from an orgy. Wait a second. Orgy. this is where people are carousing. The fairies are having orgies. I have a question. If you're reading this to a kid or a kid's reading it, they're going to look up the word orgy. So J.M. Barrie just put a sexual, like it's a night of carousing and drinking and having sexual innuendos, not innuendos, sexual things all night, and he put it in this book? Wow, you silly ass. All right, so they're having an orgy of fun, you know. Any of the other boys obstructing the fairy path at night, they would have mischieved, but they just tweaked Peter's nose and passed on. All right. I still can't get over J.M. Barrie put in the word orgy. What is up with that? I mean, these kids' books, I know they got to be exposed to things, but I did say this book was going to get dark. I didn't think it was going to get sexual, too. That's the thing about reading these books. We know they're written by adults, but reading them, you're just like, as an adult, you're like, oh, I see through all this. It's like cartoons. When you look back at Scooby-Doo, they were all high in it. It's like Scooby snacks the dog is hungry because he's freaking high. And what dog is talking? And they all hear him talking, especially Shaggy. And Shaggy definitely does a lot of weed. 420 is his favorite day. Anyway, I digress. So, lots of shit going on in that chapter in the sense of, woo, with the woo-woo. All right, let's talk about the fact that Wendy gets shot in the heart by Tootles and Tinkerbell, that bitch, set her up. Now, Wendy's reaction to all of this is kind of amazing because she was shot by Tootles, which of course he didn't know any better because he was misled by Tinkerbell. And this is when also you listen blindly to people, and he didn't wait for Peter, who is the grand leader, but of course he didn't know he was being used as a tool. Anyway, Wendy puts her arm up so Peter doesn't stab Tootles, and Wendy puts her arm up so Peter doesn't banish Tinkerbell forever. So that is all about forgiveness. And that's the thing about this particular chapter that really sticks out to me. Where in your life or who in your life have you not forgiven? Now, it could even be yourself for shit that happens in your past that you think you let happen, and then, oh my God, because sometimes we don't even realize we haven't forgiven ourselves. And the whole point about forgiveness, my friends, and I think a lot of people don't realize about forgiveness, it's not for other people. It's actually for yourself. Because when you harbor ill feelings or resentment or bitterness towards somebody, like an anger and what have you, what happens is they're not affected by that. They have no idea, but you are. And what it does is it adds a poison to your body and your vibration. So you're not resonating, you're not vibrating on your highest frequency, which then allows you to receive all the greatest gifts that the universe wants to give you. And not only that, it just is actual crap in your body that actually gets stored in friggin' organs and shit. And you know what? It can cause illness. And the whole thing is you don't need that bitterness. So what I'm going to encourage you to do, and I think this is really important, is think about forgiveness. Who today can you think of that you need to give forgiveness to? Now, if it's yourself, and trust me, I've done a lot of forgiving for myself for shit that happened to me that I didn't even think, I thought that was my fault. I had made that happen, what have you. And I think it's really important to look at the things that happen to you in your life and not take it that you can be responsible, take accountability for it, but you got to release any bitterness or anger you have towards yourself because it's not serving you. And as you forgive a friend who's hurt your feelings, you need to do that for yourself first. So first I want to encourage you, if there's anything you haven't forgiven yourself for, please, 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 please give yourself the love. Truly forgive yourself and start sending yourself love, light, and healing, and knowing that you are worthy and that you are definitely worthy of forgiveness, okay? Secondly, if there's someone in your life, maybe they're no longer in your life, but you still haven't forgiven them, forgive them. Now, you don't have to call them up and be friends with them. If you want to and you want to send a letter and you feel like you need to do that, that's great too. But especially if it's someone you do want to keep in your life, please forgive them. Because remember, at the end of the day, we are all put in each other's lives to have certain things happen. We all cause angst in someone's life and we don't even know it. And sometimes someone's holding resentment towards us. So as someone's doing that with you, you're doing with someone else. And the thing is this, it's a cycle that doesn't serve. But the day you send light and love and healing to a specific situation, now, if you don't want to write them, you don't have to. You don't have to contact them. You don't even have to speak to them again. But when I say send forgiveness, it's more of like really see that person in your mind's eye and send light and love to them and really start saying to them, I forgive you. And keep saying it to them, right? In your mind's eye. And if you need to say those words out loud, and for yourself, look in the mirror, look in your eyes and say this, I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you. Send that light and love, imagine them in a bubble of light and love, and yourself too. And you know what's going to happen? Little by little, that shit's going to ebb away. It's just going to recede, and you're going to release any of that bitterness and anger that you've been holding on. It's poison. And you know, the liver, which is an organ that filters out everything, and very important organ, it actually is a place where bitterness, they say, like when you're angry and bitter, that's where it's held. Because if you look up organs, they say like kidneys are fear, so each organ has a thing of like a certain emotion. So you don't need that shit. Spit that poison out. Don't do it because the other person needs to hear it. Do it because you need to do this for yourself, so you can vibrate higher at a higher frequency. And trust me, at the end of the day, it doesn't affect them if you're bitter to them. They don't care. Their lives are going on. So at the end of the day, you are worthy to receive light and love for yourself. So release any of that crap that you need to release. And I'm going to encourage you, if you're journaling, great. Write down the people you really, truly need to forgive. And if you're at the top of the list, you take care of yourself first. Because let me tell you something. Everything that you give yourself, self-love, self-care, joy, peace, worthiness, you can give that to others. So I would encourage you to forgive yourself first, because whatever has happened to you in your past, my friend, it has made you who you are. So I understand we take responsibility and accountability for stuff. We cannot blame ourselves for every little thing that has happened. Things happen because they had to happen to be an impetus for a change in our lives. And to sit there and be angry at ourselves and mad at ourselves for shit that we did does not serve us. So please do yourself a favor and forgive yourself first. And then move on your list to each and every person you need to forgive. Now, I don't know, it may happen overnight where you have the epiphany and you're done if you've released it all. But I'm just going to encourage you to start now. And it may take some time or it may not. I don't know. But the point is this. Your intention of this is to release any bitterness, anger, and poison, and forgive others so you can forgive and move on for yourself. Now, with that being said, I also think it's interesting, we talked about, I think, the last chapter, leaders and such, and Peter Pan is these kids' leaders, right? He's their captain. He's the equivalent of Captain Hook. Hello, Captain Hook, and Captain of Captain Peter Pan. And Peter Pan, even though he's a young kid, he's got more like ethics and morals than Hook. He knows how to treat Wendy. He respects her, and he knows how to guide these kids. I mean, he's just a child, and he's working with what he's got. And remember, he wasn't even raised by a mother. And these kids are actually good kids and navigating lives. And that's the same thing with us. I think inherently, let's all believe inherently we're all good people, and inherently we know the right things to do. So today, if you're feeling any angst about humanity and such, I get it. Not everybody's so nice, but on the whole, I think majority of us are good people. So let's hold a space for that. And let's celebrate today that on a whole, most people in our lives, most people we know, are good people, and that we're good people, and that we will rise above anything that happens to us and has happened to us, knowing that out of anything that's dark, good comes from it. And the human spirit is so strong that no matter what, we will, the masses will make the best decision for this situation. So I'm just going to leave you on that. Anyway, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this chapter. I'm enjoying this book. I didn't know it was going to be as good as Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, and I have to say, it's really fantastic. I get why they're classics now. I totally get why they're classics. So anyway, I hope you stay blessed. Please stay in love with yourself, forgive others, and know that you are worthy, you are enough, and you came here to be your best self. Remember, you are enough and you are worthy. And when you know that, my friends, the whole world opens for you. So let's all stand in light and love and peace and joy, and just be a bright light for ourselves first and then for others. Because it's nice to be a beacon of light, because some people can't light their own way. So if you can light your own way, which is first and foremost, remember that light will help and light other people's ways. All right, my friends, you stay beautiful, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. What's next on the agenda? It's very early in the morning here. I got up early, okay?